Good morning, my YouTube viewers. It's Crystal here. I haven't been making so many websites lately because I've been studying, trying to learn new material to make the videos, and so that's why I'm not making so many videos. But one thing that I learned over the past week was how to make a recipe website on HTML, and I thought, well, it'd be a good time for me to make a recipe website on HTML and for me to go over that with you. So the first thing that you do is you need to install Visual Studio Code on your computer, and the reason why is because I did the program originally in Replit, but I thought that it would be a good idea to use Visual Studio Code. So that's what we're using right now, is Visual Studio Code. And you can get it on the Microsoft Store for free and download it and install it on your computer for free. And the great thing about being in the Microsoft Store is supposedly if you download things and install things from the Microsoft Store, then what happens is it acts as a firewall, so you're not going to get a virus, hopefully. And that's why when I download and install things, I only download them and install them from the Microsoft Store and nowhere else, because the thing about Microsoft laptops is if you download something that isn't from the Microsoft Store, then it will invalidate the firewall, and then you open yourself up to viruses, and I don't want to do that. So I try to do things online, like an online IDE such as Replit, which is what I originally did this recipe website in, or you can do it with a Microsoft Store approved application, which is what I've done in this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the code with you, and so you can see how I did it. And it's also on Replit under Green Bean Casserole. If you look under Tracy Renee and you do a search on Green Bean Casserole, then you will find the code in Replit as well. But I've just done this in Visual Studio Code because I wanted to keep it on my computer, because there will come a time when I'm making a website that I won't want to have it online, because people can get to it if it's online, especially if it's on Replit, because I use the free version of Replit, which means anybody can see my code if they want to. So the first thing you do is you have the tag. So we've already established that we're using Visual Studio Code that we've downloaded and installed from Microsoft Store. And now what you have to do is you have to open up a new file, create a new file, and it has to say, if you're using HTML, it has to say HTML on the end. If you don't say HTML on the end, then there's going to be problems. So we've already opened a new file, and so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set an HTML tag to let you know, the computer know that it's an HTML. And then we set a head tag, which establishes the header. And inside of the head tag, we've got a meta tag, which what the meta does is that establishes the metadata. And then after the meta tag, we have the title tag, which I called Green Bean Casserole. And then we have a link to a picture. We have a link to a picture. And so here's your link to your picture. And then we have a link to index.css. So that's telling you that it's also linking to a CSS file in addition to that. And that's what we had in Replit. We don't have that here, but we had it in Replit. And then we have our closing header, And the next thing we do after we have the header, we're going to have the body. That's your body of your website. So the body of the website, we're going to set div. That's going to be a division, and the ID is going to be container. So we have another header, and we've got a title where we're going to call it, a header title. We're going to call it green bean casserole. And then we have an image called greenbeans.png, green beans. And I had to actually save that into the directory where the program is being held. That was the only way I could get it to work. But if you have, I used it on Replit, and when I used it on Replit, I had to take the file and save it onto my Replit directory as well. But if you have a link to an image, then what you can do is you can put the link there. But I didn't have a link to an image, so I just had to create an image and put that into the directory where the program is. And then we've created a paragraph. And when we created the paragraph, we say this is a recipe for a delicious casserole made of green beans, onions, and creamy soup. So that's your green bean casserole. And then we have the end of the header. And then after we have the header, we're going to have the section. So the section on mouse over, ingredients over, on mouse out, ingredients normal. That doesn't work, and it worked because I was doing a tutorial, and so it worked on the tutorial that I did with Coding Institute, but it didn't work with Replit. But I decided to go ahead and keep the code in there just in case you find an editor or an IDE where the code will work in, but I couldn't get it to work. It might work if it's online, but it didn't work whenever it went to the browser. And then we have H2, that's heading number 2, ingredients. And then we have a little picture of a fork. I think it is a spoon. We have UL, which is an unordered list. And then we have a list of bullet points for each ingredient. And then that's the end of the first section. Now what we do is we have the second section, and as I said, the on mouse over and on mouse out, that doesn't work. You might be able to try it when it's online, and it might work, but it doesn't work when it's not online. And then so we have our preparation. We have heading 2, and it says preparation, but let me see something. Yeah. And then again, you have a picture of a check. I think it's a check that I put on there. And now we have an ordered list. And when you have an ordered list, you have the instructions, and the ordered lists are numbered 1 to 4. And that's the end of your section. And then we have a footer. So, and then we start a paragraph, and we say copyright me 2020, or it could be 2024 really. 2024. And then you have the end of the script. Well, the script, which is JavaScript, but I'm not using JavaScript, so it doesn't matter. When I did it in Replit, I could have used JavaScript, but this is just letting you know that if you wanted to use JavaScript, you could. That's the end of the body and the end of the HTML. And then so what we do is we come over here and we save it. So we save